صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها المزمل قم الليل إلا قليلا نصفه أو انقص منه قليلا أو زد عليه ورتل القرآن ترتيلا إنا سنلقي عليك قولا ثقيلا إن ناشئة الليل هي أشد وطئا وأقوم قيلا إن لك في النهار سبحا طويلا واذكر اسم ربك وتبتل إليه تبتيلا رب المشرق والمغرب لا إله إلا هو فاتخذه وكيلا واصبر على ما يقولون واهجرهم هجرا جميلا وذرني والمكذبين أولي النعمة ومهلهم قليلا إن لدينا أنكالا وجحيما وطعاما ذا غصة وعذابا أليما يوم ترجف الأرض والجبال وكانت الجبال كثيبا مهيلا إنا أرسلنا إليكم رسولا شاهدا عليكم كما أرسلنا إلى فرعون رسولا فعصى فرعون الرسول فأخذناه أخذا وبيلا فكيف تتقون إن كفرتم يوما يجعل الولدان شيبا السماء منفطر به كان وعده مفعولا إن هذه تذكرة فمن شاء اتخذ إلى ربه سبيلا إن ربك يعلم أنك تقوم أدنى من ثلثي الليل ونصفه وثلثه وطائفة من الذين معك والله يقدر الليل والنهار علم أن لن تحصوه فتاب عليكم فاقرؤوا ما تيسر من القرآن علم أن سيكون منكم مرضى وآخرون يضربون في الأرض يبتغون من فضل الله وآخرون يقاتلون في سبيل الله فاقرؤوا ما تيسر منه وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة وأقرضوا الله قرضا حسنا وما تقدموا لأنفسكم من خير تجدوه عند الله هو خيرا وأعظم أجرا واستغفروا الله إن الله غفور رحيم. صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسول الكريم محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. صلوا على محمد.
حضرت محمد وآل محمد. مظلوم بے وطن اے میرا مولا رضا ہے ہائی مظلوم بے وطن اے میرا مولا رضا ہے جس کو زہر لوگ مسلمان نہ دیا ہے مظلوم بے وطن اے میرا مولا رضا ہے سپے آ کے کرو بندے دعائیں ایک بی بی روزہ دارو یہاں شام سے آئی لپٹی ہوئی جنازہ سے نہیں سر پیر جائے مظلوم بے وطن اے میرا مولا رضا آئے اے جنازے پہ نبی شاہ امم بھی کلثوم اور رقیہ اے معصوم اے کمبی او بی بی اے کربلا میں جلی جس کی ابا ہے مظلوم بے وطن اے میرا مولا رضا یوں لوٹا اے مسلمان نے زہرا کے چمپ کو اے زیر دیا جیسے میرا مولا حسن کو تو ہائی اے بی اے جفا ہے مظلوم بے وطن اے میرا مولا رضا معصوم کمبے تیرے رو کی اے دعائیں اے کاش ملا دے کوئی مجھے کو سے میرے پائی سغرا اے ترہا اے بہن جیسے ایک جدا ہے مظلوم بے وطن اے میرا مولا رضا ماؤں کے عباسی کے عنایت اے لوگوں ہائے آل پیغمبر سے دعوت اے لوگوں سیدان و عذر دے کی امت کی وفا ہے مظلوم بے وطن اے میرا مولا رضا قربان میرے مولا پہ جانے ہماری ماں کے روز میرے مولا کی اے دنیا اے ساری اے مرتبہ ہوتی پہ غریب اے میرا ہے مظلوم بے وطن اے میرا مولا رضا روٹے اے فرشتی اے زمانے او زمان بھی ہائے لو آؤ قلم عرش بڑی کون میں کعبی خیر النساء کلا لیکن ماتم کے صدا ہے مظلوم بے وطن اے میرا مولا رضا ہائے مظلوم بے وطن اے میرا مولا رضا درود محمد وآل محمد
کیا ڈھونڈ رہی ہے جنگل میں سکینہ عباس کے بازو یا بابا کا سینہ کیا ڈھونڈ رہی ہے جنگل میں سکینہ عباس کے بازو یا بابا کا سینہ کانوں سے چھنے گوہر اور آگ تھی دامن میں گھبرائی ہوئی بچی یہ کہتی رہی رن میں اے کوئی جو مجھ کو پہنچا دے مدینہ کیا ڈھونڈ رہی ہے جنگل میں سکینہ عباس کے بازو یا بابا کا سینہ رن سے علی اصغر کو لے آؤ میرے بابا سونا نظر آتا ہے بھائی کا میرے جھولا اصغر کے بغیر اب مجھ کو نہیں جینا کیا ڈھونڈ رہی ہے جنگل میں سکینہ عباس کے بازو یا بابا کا سینہ یہ شام کے زندہ میں دیواروں کو ٹکتی تھی کیا سوچ کے یہ جانے دن رات سے سکتی ہے بچھڑی ہے چچا سے جب سے یہ حزینہ کیا ڈھونڈ رہی ہے جنگل میں سکینہ अब्बास के बाजू या बाबा का सीना। दुनिया से सिधारे हैं भाई जो मेरे प्यासे, जब तक नहीं लौटेंगे अम्मू मेरे दरिया से। मैंने अब पूफी अम्मा पानी नहीं पीना, क्या ढूंढ रही है जंगल में सकीना। पहुँचे जो शाहे वाला बेटे की सदा सुनकर, देखा कि रगड़ते हैं आई को जवा अकबर। नेज़े की अनी और बेटे का सीना, क्या ढूंढ रही है जंगल में सकीना। अब्बास के बाजू या बाबा का सीना। सलवात।
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Just a quick announcement. One of our brother's family members passed away earlier this week in Toronto, Brother Ahmad Bimji. So if you can all recite a Surah Fatiha for the marhum, for all marhumin and marhumat, and the marhuma who passed away earlier this week, Aliya Ja'far, here in Edmonton. Bismillah ar-Rahman. And with that, let's welcome Shaykh Nabil with 3 loud salawat.
Before I begin, there's been a request for the recitation of I Amma Yujibu for particular one of the believers who is undergoing surgery, and also all of those around the world that are ill. Please join me in reciting 5 times I Amma Yujibu. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. 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 صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأطهرين، سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأراضين، روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتلتهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ملعونين. أما بعد, for the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziya, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the shuhada, ulama and siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahlul Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam arwahun al-fida, please recite your loudest salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the sake of our azar thus far, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives our sins. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives the sins of our parents. Oh Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Oh Allah, those who are ill, give them shifa'ah. Those who are in debt, clear their debts. Ya Allah, keep safe the followers of Ahlul Bayt around the world. Ya Allah, give victory to the people of Palestine. Ya Allah, give us tawfiq to go on the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah this year and every year. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to be amongst his true muntadhareen, his true waiters, for the acceptance of these du'as and any other du'as that you brothers and sisters have brought. Please recite another of your loudest salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In volume 6 of Al-Kafi, there is a narration where the companion of the sixth Imam, Abu Harun, comes to visit the Imam. The Imam alayhi salam says to him, Abu Harun, it's been a number of weeks since I last saw you. What has kept you busy? He says, Yabna Rasulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed me with a child, a boy. And the Imam says that, what did you name this child? He says, Yabna Rasulillah, we named him Muhammad. Hearing the name of Muhammad, Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam lowered his head. And then he repeated Muhammad again and again lowered his head. Until Abu Harun says that the Imam repeated the name so much that his head had almost touched the ground. And then the Imam said, may my children, my soul and everything that I have be sacrificed upon Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In another narration, the Imam alayhi salam, again the sixth Imam, when talking about the name of Muhammad, says that this name itself has so much barakah that the Imam says, Burika fi baytin fihi Muhammad, says barakah is in that house within which a Muhammad lives. Wa majlisun fihi Muhammad, and that gathering within which there is a Muhammad, a person named Muhammad that is sitting there. Wa rufqatun fiha Muhammad, and a friend circle that has an individual in that friend circle that is named Muhammad, that also becomes a gathering or a friend circle that has barakah. And this is why it is recommended that even when a child is still within the womb or having it being born, if it's a boy, for 7 days to call it Muhammad. And then if after 7 days the parents wish to change the name and choose something else, then they can. But for at least the first week of his life, let him benefit and let all those in that house benefit from that blessed name of the Holy Prophet. An individual whose name is so full of barakah that it brings blessings upon a household or upon a friendship or upon a gathering, then imagine what the wujud of that personality would have been like. How he himself would have been. That his name holds such high regard in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine the wujud of the Holy Prophet. And this Prophet that came, he came as a mercy to the whole of mankind. That even the one that has the name of Muhammad, in Mustadrak Muhaddith Nuri, he brings this riwayah that says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I am ashamed to punish the one that is named Muhammad. On Yawm al-Qiyamah, it says, I am ashamed to punish that individual that is named after the Holy Prophet. And so this Prophet, his very wujud was the one of being totally and utterly blessed. His fada'il, his characteristics are such that someone asks Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, they say that list for us the attributes of the Prophet, the virtues of the Holy Prophet. And Amirul Mu'mineen, he says, first you list for me the virtues and the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon you. He says, Ya Amirul Mu'mineen, he says, I can't. He says, there are so many blessings that Allah has bestowed upon me. Amirul Mu'mineen says, you cannot list the blessings of this dunya that God has placed upon you, even though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran, He says, Mata'ud dunya qaleel, the blessings of this dunya are but a few. Then you expect me to try and explain to you the virtues of that individual that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ, that we have created you, we have made you the best of all of creation. Says, if you can't even gather and understand the blessings of this dunya, how am I supposed to recite for you the virtues and the blessings of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wa sallam? Allahumma salli ala. The Holy Prophet is that individual who is illa al-ghayi. He is the original purpose of existence. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He addresses him, says, Ya Ahmad, lawlaka lima khalaqtul aflaq. That were it not for you, O Ahmad, I wouldn't have created anything. It is out of your love that I created everything. The first of all of creation, Jabir, he asks the Holy Prophet, says, Ya Rasulullah, what was the first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created? When there was nothing. Nothing existed. It was just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What was the first thing that Allah created? The Holy Prophet replies to him and says, Noor nabiyyika ya Jabir. Says, the Noor of your Prophet, ya Jabir. Says, my Noor was created before everything. There was nothing. Allah manifested the divine name of Allah. And from the divine name of Allah came a light. And He named that light Muhammad. And that light then split. And from it came the light of Amirul Mu'mineen, and the light of Fatimah al-Zahra, and the light of Imam al-Hassan, and the light of Imam al-Hussein. And then their light split. There are many narrations which talk about the various aspects of the Noor of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. The Holy Prophet himself says that my Noor, says we were 5 Noor that had been created. And we worshipped Allah before there was anyone to worship Allah. We glorified Allah before there was anyone to glorify Allah. And after a time passed, Allah chose to split my Noor. And when He split my Noor, from it, He created the Noor, He created the Arsh. And the Arsh is from my Noor, and my Noor is from the Noor of Allah, and so I am greater than the Arsh of Allah. And he continues like this to explain one by one what was created from the Noor of the remaining members of those original 5. The Holy Prophet is al-Ghai, the ultimate role model, the ultimate reason for the existence of everything, and then the ultimate aim of every human being. That if they want to achieve the best that any human being can achieve, being mumkinul wujud, being a contingent existence within this world, then it is the wujud of the Holy Prophet that becomes the ideal, the perfect archetype to which a person must aspire. And this Prophet, with all this greatness, but yet he comes to this earth with a heart that is so soft, a heart that aches for the nation. In Surah Tawbah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives a description of the Holy Prophet. In verse 128, he says, لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولًا مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ, says that we appointed or created a prophet from amongst you. عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتُّمْ حَرِيصٌ عَلَيْكُمْ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ, says that from you we created an apostle, a prophet, and your failing is extremely grievous to him. It causes him a lot of pain. He is excessively insistent, harisun alaykum, excessively insistent upon your guidance, and towards the believers he is compassionate and merciful. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has listed 4 characteristics of the Holy Prophet of Islam. The first is that لَقَدْ جَاءُكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ, he has created a prophet from amongst you, from within you. That the prophet is of the same matter as you. Amir al-Mu'mineen in Nahj al-Balagha, there's a khutbah by the name of Ghasiya. If you look at it, in there Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says that if Allah had wanted, he could have created Adam and all of the prophets from a different type of material. A nur that would be so bright that anyone who saw it would submit in front of it. And he would have given it a smell, a scent that was so attractive that whosoever smelt it would be attracted towards them. He says, but Allah didn't do that. Allah created the messengers from amongst you so that you could relate to them, so that you could know them. The Holy Prophet says he was from the people, amongst the people, the same matter as the rest of the people. He sleeps like the people, he eats like the people, he lives amongst them, he's happy, he's sad. He has all of these emotions. When the son of the Holy Prophet Ibrahim died, and the Holy Prophet was crying, and someone said to him, Ya Rasulullah, do you also cry? The Holy Prophet said, yes. Says, he was my son, I was attached to him, I loved him. And now, alaykum salam, now that I have lost him, my heart feels that pain. Says, and so I weep for him. In another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when referring to the Holy Prophet, says, Fikum, from amongst you, as in from your society. He lives amongst you down to earth like all of creation. He doesn't expect a special protocol. He doesn't expect that people stand for him when he enters. He's simple. He lives amongst the people. And the Holy Prophet was exactly like that. That never once wanting anyone to do anything over and above and beyond what was required. He lived amongst the people normally. We unfortunately gain a little bit of knowledge, or gain a little bit of status, or gain some sort of position, and then we expect everyone and demand that everyone respects us. But the Holy Prophet of Islam, being the Prophet of God, being al-Ghai, being the reason for all of existence, he lives amongst the people like them. He dresses like them. He sits amongst them. Someone walks into the gathering of the Holy Prophet, his gatherings would all be round. They would be circular. So you wouldn't know who was the head of the gathering. Someone walks in and he would look and say, who is the Prophet amongst you? It's how simple the Holy Prophet was, how down to earth the Holy Prophet was. He didn't demand anything. He didn't demand the respect of others. In fact, Ibn Mas'ud, he narrates that one day, one of the Bedouin Arabs, he comes to visit the Holy Prophet. And as he approaches the Prophet begins to speak with him. The hayba of the Prophet, the presence of the Holy Prophet is such that this man begins to shake and he begins to stutter. The Holy Prophet embraces him. He says, "My brother, why are you afraid?" He says, "I'm not some monarch. I'm not some king." He says, "I'm just like you. Speak freely, don't be afraid." He says, "A prophet that was from amongst the people, one that didn't require any sort of special protocol." When Salman came, and he had spent hundreds of years in the courts of the kings of Persia, visiting various other kings along his journey. Salman was over 300 years old. When he reaches the Holy Prophet, he falls at the feet of the Prophet as a sign of respect. The Holy Prophet quickly picks him up and says, "Salman, what are you doing? Why are you acting in the way that people act in front of the kings?" Says, "I am not a king." Says, "I'm simply a slave of Allah. I eat like a slave. I sit and stand like other human beings. I get given some small level of importance, some small position. Now my feet don't even touch the ground. I expect everyone to be around me on eggshells, be respectful to me, That isn't what the Holy Prophet taught. It's not what the A'immah alayhimus salam taught. And so sometimes when we reflect on our own lives and we see how far away we are from that status, from that ideal that Rasulullah spoke about. The Holy Prophet, he says that there are 5 things that I will never leave, and I will insist upon them so that they become a sunnah after me. The first says eating and sitting with the poor. Not just feeding them, but sitting with them and eating with them. That's difficult. Feeding the poor is very easy. You just send a bit of money there, send a few sandwiches there, drop it off to them, walk away. But actually sit down with them, have a conversation with them, that's tough. See, because then that means I've got to sit on the same ground that they're sitting on. They may attack me, they may not, who knows? Depends what type of person they are. It says, I will never leave eating and sitting with the poor. The second thing that the Holy Prophet says, I will never leave wearing rough clothing. Rough clothing, simple clothing of the time, because that was the standard of the poorest of society. The third thing says, I will never leave riding a horse or a donkey or whatever it may be without a saddle, because the poor of the time couldn't afford saddles for their rides. So he says, so I will ride saddleless. The fourth thing, I will never leave milking the goats with my own hands. I won't want someone else to do it. I'll do it myself. These simple tasks, I don't expect someone else to come in and do it for me and then present it to me. No, he says, I'll do it myself. And the fifth and final thing that he says that I won't leave is giving salam to children before they can give it to me. For us, it's the total opposite. I wait, I look at a child and he didn't give me salam. His parents didn't teach him right. This is someone that doesn't have adab or akhlaq. Whereas, in reality, the Holy Prophet would rush towards the children and say salam to them before they could say salam to him. So these 5 things, he says, that I will never leave. So the Holy Prophet was not just of the same matter, but he was from within the people, amongst the people, is how he would live his life. The second thing, Azizun alayhi ma anittum, says your distress, your upset, it aggrieves him, it makes him upset. He feels your pain, he feels your upset that you have in your heart. He felt the pain of the people because he was rahmatan lil alameen, because he was a mercy upon everyone, and not just the Muslims. He was a mercy upon all of existence. At that early phase of Islam, after the wars, there would be prisoners of war. And if any of them could read or write, the Holy Prophet had put it down and said that if anyone teaches another Muslim to read or write, 10 of them, if you teach 10 Muslims how to read and write, you will be freed. And so like this, in many of the wars, when people were caught and they had some skills, it says if you teach these skills to 10 Muslims, you can have your freedom and return back to your homes. In one particular incident, there was a young Jewish boy who would come and he would teach the Muslims how to read and write. And for some weeks he was coming and he was teaching them, but then for a few days he didn't come. The Holy Prophet, he asked the people, says, where is that young Jewish boy that would come and teach? Said, Ya Rasulullah, we've heard that he's fallen extremely ill and that there's very slim chance of him surviving. The Holy Prophet says, let's go and visit him. So they go to his home, and there they see that this young man, in and out of consciousness, passing through sakaratul maut. The Holy Prophet sits down next to him. And as he comes, regains his consciousness, the Holy Prophet says, young man, you have done so much for us. Let me do something for you. Become Muslim. The young man looks at his parents and as if embarrassed to say something, he doesn't say anything and he falls unconscious again. The second time he regains consciousness, again the Holy Prophet says, become Muslim. Again he looks to his parents. Now his parents realize, they say to him, son, whatever you want to do, you do. We're happy with whatever decision you make. Straight away he recites the Shahadatain, bears witness to Allah's oneness and to the risalat of the Holy Prophet. As soon as he recited, his soul leaves his body. The Holy Prophet turns to the parents. He says, if you will allow us, leave him. We will gather the other Muslims, we will give him ghusl and kafan, and I myself will bury him with my own hands and I will recite his Salat al-Mayyit. This Prophet who was constantly worried about the ummah, constantly worried about where it is that they were headed, always wanting to guide, try and bring everyone towards that truth, insistent upon their guidance. Harisun alaykum, the next thing. Really wanted to guide, had that desire, that pain, that these individuals will all be misguided, will be lost. At one point, the Holy Prophet thought, maybe it's because of me. He says, everything I'm doing, everything I'm saying, but these people aren't coming towards truth. Maybe there's something I'm doing wrong. And so the Holy Prophet doubled up in his ibadat. Spent the whole night standing, praying, reciting, hours upon hours into the night, to the point that his feet became swollen, his eyes became yellowed, his skin, his face became gaunt. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed, Taha, says Taha, ma anzalna hadha al-Quran litashqa. Says we didn't reveal this Quran as a burden upon you. He says, what are you so worried about? Imagine that Allah that is Rahman and Rahim, that Allah that says, I am more merciful than 100 mothers, is addressing His Prophet and saying, why are you so worried about these people? He says, why? Imagine how merciful Rasulullah was, how he manifests those 100 parts of the mercy of Allah within his wujud. He says, what are you so worried about? That you're placing yourself under so much strain for the guidance of these people. He says, we didn't send this Quran upon you to be a burden upon you. Holy Prophet was constantly in that pursuit of wanting to guide the people, to bring them to that truth. If we analyze our own lives and think, how much of that truth have we, how much desire do we have to bring people to the truth? How much desire do we have to bring ourselves to the truth? Or is it that we are happy remaining in the four walls of our Husayniyah, doing what we have always done, not having a desire to develop, move forward the community? Because the Holy Prophet was worried about his community, was worried about the guidance of every generation. But am I so caught up in my own problems and my own issues and waiting for someone else to do it that I have no desire to guide anyone else or to bring about some sort of positive change? At times we become so absorbed within our own dunya that our responsibilities to the deen and the spreading of the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes secondary. It becomes secondary to us. To spread this faith is what is important. It says that the Holy Prophet, he was constantly in this hope, in this desire to spread this faith. And that's with those that were not part and parcel of the faith. Those that were not part and parcel of the faith. But when it comes to the mu'mineen, the ayah says, bil mu'minina ra'ufur rahim. Says this prophet with the mu'mineen, he was compassionate, he was merciful towards them. Had this love for the other believers, those that were guided. We at times flip this on the head. We're more compassionate towards the non-believers than we are towards the believers, and we're harsh with the believers. We're extremely harsh when it comes to the believers. But when it's towards the non-believers, when it's towards those that don't have iman, those don't have faith, we're very calm, we're very welcoming. But for the believers, we're unrelenting, uncompromising. Talk about 50, 60, 70 excuses. We don't even give a person one excuse. We become judge, jury, and executioner. The Holy Prophet was so compassionate towards the mu'mineen. But yet I haven't manifested that within my wujud, within my life. If I analyze myself alongside the Holy Prophet, then how much of his sunnah, how much of his ideals, how much of what the Prophet wanted from me have I implemented within my life? Because as I said at the start, he is illa al-ghayi. He is the ultimate role model, the perfect archetype of what the human being should be in terms of his morality, in terms of his social interactions, in terms of the way that he approaches others. But how much of that sunnah do I have within my life? This Prophet is Ra'uf and Rahim to the mu'mineen, not just us that were from his ummah, because the Prophet is the Prophet of the Prophets. He is the ultimate. He is a Nabi over all of the other Anbiya of Allah. And so every one of their ummah, every one of their followers is part of the ummah of the Holy Prophet. And so when it comes to him being Ra'uf and Rahim, on the day of judgment is where it will be shown. That's where every other individual on that day will be running around crying, woe unto me, woe unto me. Someone come and help me, looking and worried about themselves. This Prophet will be seen crying, oh my ummah, oh my ummah. Worried about what will happen to his ummah. Worried what will be the end of those that loved him, those that followed him. This Prophet was extremely soft, was extremely loving in his wujud. How much softness do I have? Or is my default to be harsh towards people? And then once I get to know them, maybe then soften up. If I don't have any softness within myself, don't have any mercy, I struggle to be merciful towards people, then the narrations say that 100 times say Ya Rahim every day. 100 times do the tasbih of Ya Rahim. It will soften your heart. Sometimes when we sin, and remember, being harsh to other people is a sin. Other mu'mineen is a sin. When we constantly sin, then this heart becomes hardened. And I become negative, constantly looking for some sort of issue, some sort of problem, trying to disrupt the collective. And that's not what the Prophet wanted from us. It's disingenuous to say that I follow his sunnah but yet do the total opposite, the very thing that the munafiqeen were doing during the time of the Prophet. That the Holy Prophet says that I have not received as much issues and problems from the mushrikeen as I have from the munafiqeen. The munafiqeen have broken my back. The hypocrites, those that on the face are something, but when it comes to away from that individual, they're like something else. Try, look at the life of the Prophet and implement it. This day is the day of the shahadat of the Holy Prophet. And also according to many reliable traditions, also the day of the shahadat of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. This is that day that the Holy Prophet of Islam, he's leaving this world as a result of some poison, according to some narrations, that was given to him almost a year prior. And as it slowly deteriorated the health of the Prophet, it led to this day. As he lay on his deathbed, coming in and out of consciousness, Jibreel alayhi salam came down, said, Ya Rasulullah, I have brought news for you. Says, Jibreel, what news? Says, the angels are awaiting you in heaven. They are desirous to see you. The Holy Prophet says, but Jibreel, what news have you brought for my ummah? Even at that point, this Prophet of mercy is worried about his ummah. Says, Jibreel, what have you brought for my ummah? Says, Ya Rasulullah, I have brought you news of your shafa'ah. That on the day of judgment you will be shafi'. You will intercede for those. Rasulullah in and out of consciousness. At one point, as he fell unconscious and regained consciousness, he saw that Zahra alayha salam had rested her head on the chest of her father, weeping profusely that the shirt of the Prophet had become wet from the tears of Fatima alayha salam. The Holy Prophet, he pulled Fatima close to him. This Fatima that was inconsolable, he whispered something into her ear that brought a smile upon the face of Fatima alayha salam. Afterwards they asked her, they said, Ya Fatima, what is it that Rasulullah said to you that made you smile at that moment? She says that my father had told me that, Fatima, from amongst all of my family, you will be the first to come and meet me. You will be the first to be reunited with me. The Holy Prophet's soul leaves his body, and a handful of individuals gather around. The Prophet's funeral was done with only a handful of people. Where was the rest of this ummah? It was done in private. And Medina is an odd place. Those of you that have been, someone, when we went on one of our ziyarah trips, they were saying to us that I can't connect here in Medina because of all of the restrictions. And I said to them that just think about what this Medina could say to you if it was here. This is the Medina that held the wujud of the Prophet, but at the same time, this is that Medina where the Prophet's body is lifted and there are only a handful of people around it. Ahlul Bayt, from amongst Ahlul Bayt, the Holy Prophet, Fatima Zahra, Amirul Mu'mineen, all of their funerals were done with a small amount of people. When it came to Fatima, when it came to Amirul Mu'mineen, Salamullah alayhima, both of their funerals were done in secret. The first funeral of Ahlul Bayt that was done in public, with the public being invited, was the funeral of Imam al-Hassan. One alim would say that, how I wish that even the funeral of Imam al-Hassan was done in private. Because you know, when they wanted to take the body of Imam al-Hassan to Baqi', they fired arrows into the body of Imam al-Hassan. Abu Abdullah brings back the body of his brother, covered in blood, covered in arrows, and he sits by it crying, says, my brother, the one that has lost everything, is not the one whose wealth has been taken from him, but rather it is the one who must sit by the body of his brother in this state. This is that same Medina where the cries of Fatima were heard, the cries of Imam al-Hassan were heard, and then some years later, this same Medina, when seeing the walls, it brings tears to the eyes of the daughters of Ali and Batul. When Kulthum, having returned from Medina, sees the walls of Medina, she calls out, Ya Medina tujaddina la taqbalina. O Medina of our grandfather, do not accept us. For when we left this Medina, with us were our men and our sons. But when we return, there is no one by our side. You hear that Imam al-Sajjad told Bishr, go in, tell the people what has befallen us. Bishr entered into Medina. Ya ahla Yathrib la muqama lakum biha. قتل الحسين فأدمعي مدرار الجسم منه بكربلاء مزرج وَالرَّأْسُ عَلَى الْقَنَاةِ يُدَارُ. Says, O people of Yathrib, O people of Medina, Medina is not a place for you to remain any longer. For Hussein has been killed in Karbala. His body lies in Karbala. His head was paraded through the streets. As Bishr was standing there, an old lady came towards him, holding a young child in her hands. She said to him, Ya Na'i, O man who is announcing, what news do you bring of my son Hussein? Bishr says, I turned to the people that were nearby. I said, who is this lady that calls Hussein her son? They say to him, Bishr, this is al-Baneen, the wife of Amir al-Mu'mineen. He looks at her, what can he tell her? He begins to give her condolences for her sons. Says al-Baneen, accept my condolences for Uthman, accept my condolences for Abdullah, accept my condolences for Ja'far. All the time she says, I didn't ask you about Abdullah or Ja'far, I asked you about Aba Abdullah. And then he says to her, Ya al-Baneen, عظم الله لك العجب قمر العشيرة Fadl al-Abbas. Hearing the name of Abbas, al-Baneen drops the child in her hand. She says to him, oh man, you have broken my heart and torn it to shreds, but I did not ask you about Abbas, I asked you about Hussein. He tells her, al-Baneen, Aba Abdullah was killed in the land of Karbala. His body was left on the plains of Karbala. His head was paraded around the streets. Al-Baneen runs to the house of Zainab alayha salam. She knocks on the door. The servant girl comes to the door. She says, my lady Zainab has requested that no one be allowed to enter, for she wants to mourn on her own. Al-Baneen says, tell your lady that I am with her in this sorrow. When she goes in and she says that there is an old lady at the door that says, I am with you in this sorrow. Zainab alayha salam, realizing who it is, says, let her in. Zainab runs. She sees Baneen for the first time. They both embrace each other. The first thing Baneen asks her, says, Zainab, tell me, what has aged you so much? She says, Mother, shayyabatni al-masa'ib. The masa'ib of Karbala have aged me. Then al-Baneen asks her, says, Zainab, tell me one thing, answer one question for me. Says, what is it? Says, Zainab, tell me, was my Abbas loyal in Karbala? Was my Abbas loyal in Karbala? Zainab looks at her, says, Ya al-Baneen, what can I tell you? If there was anyone that was loyal in Karbala, it was Abbas. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. ماتم يا حسين.
कहती करती है ज़हरा बुका, बाबा रसूले खुदा, आह ये क्या हो गया, बाबा रसूले खुदा। बोलते नहीं क्यों भला, हो गए क्यों मुझसे खफा, रोते है शेरे खुदा, बाबा रसूले खुदा। روتے ہیں جنوں ملک ویراں مدینہ ہوا، چل بسے سوئے جناں، بابا رسول خدا لے گا خبر کون اب، دکھ میں ہماری بلا، ہائے یتیم ہو گئی بابا رسول خدا، روتی ہے زینب کھڑی، سر بھی ہے ان کا کھلا، منہ سے تو بولو ذرا بابا رسول خدا، حیدر کرار کا حال کہوں کیا بلا، ہو گئے بے چین بابا رسول خدا، ہائے ستائیں گے اب ظالم بے دین، اب چین نہیں ملنے کو اب بابا رسول خدا، شیر خدا کے گلے باندھ رسی کھینچیں گے، کیسا ستم آ گیا بابا رسول خدا، یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین، حضرت نبی جہاں سے گئے وا مصیبتا، حضرت نبی جہاں سے گئے وا مصیبتا، سر آج فاطمہ کا کھلا وا مصیبتا، حضرت نبی جہاں سے گئے وا مصیبتا، حضرت نبی جہاں سے گئے وا سر آج فاطمہ کا کھلا، یارو قیامت آج پڑی دو جہان میں، یارو قیامت آج پڑی دو جہان میں، پیٹے کھڑا ہے شیر خدا وا مصیبتا، حضرت نبی جہاں سے گئے وا مصیبتا، حضرت جہاں سے گئے مصیبتا، سر آج فاطمہ کا کھلا، کہتا ہے جبرائیل بدرگاہ کبریا، کہتا ہے جبرائیل بدرگاہ کبریا، تیرا حبیب جگ سے گیا وا مصیبتا، حضرت نبی جہاں گئے وا مصیبتا، حضرت نبی جہاں سر آج فاطمہ کا کھلا،
عطا حسنین دونوں ایک ادھر اور ایک ادھر، حسنین دونوں ایک ادھر اور ایک ادھر، نوچے ہیں زلف کر کے بکاوا مصیبتا، حضرت نبی جہاں سے وا مصیبتا، حضرت نبی جہاں سے گئے مصیبتا، سر آج فاطمہ کا کھلا، کہتی ہے فاطمہ کہ ہوئی میں یتیم آج، کہتی ہے فاطمہ کہ ہوئی میں یتیم آج، سر پر میرے پدر نہ رہا وا مصیبتا، حضرت نبی سے گئے وا مصیبتا، حضرت نبی جہاں سے گئے وا مصیبتا، سر آج فاطمہ کا کھلا وا مصیبتا، یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین۔
آؤ تابوت محمد کا اٹھاؤ لوگو، آؤ تابوت محمد کا اٹھاؤ لوگو، آؤ تابوت محمد کا اٹھاؤ، ساری دنیا کو وفاداری، ساری دنیا کو وفاداری سکھاؤ لوگو، آؤ تابوت محمد کا اٹھاؤ گو، بوت محمد کا اٹھاؤ لوگو، جس عقیدت سے بپا کرتے ہو میلاد نبی، جس عقیدت سے بپا کرتے ہو میلاد نبی، فرش غم ویسے محمد کا، فرش غم ویسے محمد کا بچھاؤ لوگو، آؤ تابوت اٹھاؤ لوگو، آؤ تابوت لوگو، یہ صفِ غم ہے محمد کی یہاں فرق نہیں، یہ صفِ غم ہے محمد کی یہاں فرق نہیں، ہاں اسی صف پہ زمانے کو، ہاں اسی صف پہ زمانے کو بلاؤ لوگو، آؤ تابوت محمد کا اٹھاؤ لوگو، آؤ تابوت محمد کا، گھر میں ہے فاطمہ زہرا کے اندھیرا چھایا، گھر میں ہے فاطمہ زہرا کے اندھیرا چھایا، آج کی رات چراغوں کو، آج کی رات چراغوں کو بجھاؤ لوگو، آؤ تابوت محمد کا اٹھاؤ لوگو، آؤ تابوت کھا کے پتھر بھی جو امت کو دعا دیتے رہے، کھا کے پتھر بھی جو امت کو دعا دیتے رہے، ایسے محسن کا نہ احسان، ایسے محسن کا نہ احسان بھلاؤ لوگو، آؤ تابوت محمد کا اٹھاؤ لوگو، آؤ تابوت محمد کا اٹھاؤ لوگو اپنے غم بھول کے دیتی ہے خدیجہ یہ صدا اپنے غم بھول کے دیتی ہے خدیجہ یہ صدا آنسو زہرا کی یتیمی پر آنسو زہرا کی یتیمی پر بہاؤ لوگو آؤ تابوت محمد کا آؤ تابوت اپنے بابا کی جدائی میں جو چھپ کر روئی اپنے بابا کی جدائی میں جو چھپ کر روئی دل اسی فاطمہ زہرا کا دل اسی فاطمہ زہرا کا بڑھاؤ لوگو آؤ تابوت محمد کا اٹھاؤ لوگو آؤ تابوت بعد بابا کے جسے حق نہ ملا دنیا سے بعد بابا کے جسے حق نہ ملا دنیا سے اس کے حق کے لیے آواز اس کے حق کے لیے آواز اٹھاؤ لوگو آؤ تابوت محمد کا اٹھاؤ لوگو آؤ تابوت سبز گنبد سے تکلم یہ صدا آتی ہے سبز گنبد سے تکلم یہ صدا آتی ہے قبر زہرا پہ کوئی سایہ قبر زہرا پہ کوئی سایہ بناؤ لوگو آؤ تابوت محمد کا اٹھاؤ لوگو
محمد کا اٹھاؤ لوگو وہ عابد بیمار تھا وہ عابد بیمار ہائے چلنے سے جو لاچار تھا چلنے سے جو لاچار تھا اور شام کا بازار تھا اور شام کا بازار تھا اور مصطفیٰ کی بیٹیاں مولا حق یا حسن یا حسین مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین شبیر کی وہ لاڈلی وہ لاڈلی ہے سینے پہ جو شاہ کے پلی سینے پہ جو شاہ کے پلی جس کی ابا بن میں جلی جس کی ابا بن میں جلی منہ پر تماچوں کے نشان مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین 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 محمد وآل محمد صلوات اللہم صلی علی بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم امن یجیب المضطر اذا دعاہ ویکشف السوء امن یجیب مضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصل يا ربي على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل. Let's recite all together a ziyarah of Rasulullah on this day, shahadat of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Assalamu alayka ya Rasulallah wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alayka ya Muhammad ibn Abdullah. Assalamu alayka ya khiratallah. Assalamu alayka ya Habib Allah. السلام عليك يا صفوة الله السلام عليك يا أمين الله أشهد أنك رسول الله وأشهد أنك محمد بن عبد الله وأشهد أنك قد نصحت لأمتك وجاهدت في سبيل ربك وعبدته حتى أتاك اليقين فجزاك الله يا رسول الله أفضل ما جزى نبيا عن أمته اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أفضل ما صليت على إبراهيم وآل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين السلام عليك يا إمام حسن المجتبى السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب خصوصا سيدي مولاي أبو الفضل عباس ابن أمير المؤمنين وأختيك زينب أم كلثوم وبنتك سكينة السلام عليكم يا أهل بيت النبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا مولى وابن مولى السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء السلطان أبو الحسن علي بن موسى الرضا السلام عليك وعلى أختك فاطمة المعصومة الطاهرة وعلى أبنائك الأربعة وآبائك وعلى آبائك السبعة وأبنائك الأربعة وعلى أختك فاطمة المعصومة الطاهرة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهور الأمر ورحمة الله وبركاته. والفاتحة تسبق الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم